Most people know that alcohol can damage the liver, but what they don't understand is that simple, everyday foods that may even appear healthy can have ingredients in it that can be just as damaging to your liver as alcohol. There is a type of sugar that's hiding in our everyday foods that people eat and drink multiple times a day without realizing it. And over time, that sugar slowly turns a healthy liver into a fatty liver, just like the ones you get from drinking alcohol. And that sugar is fructose. Now, I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. But what most people don't realize is that even though they think they're not eating fructose, the truth is that you actually rarely see the word fructose on labels, and it shows up hidden in foods that seem completely normal and healthy. So I'm Dr. Lou. I've been practicing internal medicine and infectious diseases for almost 3 decades. And I have seen things with my eyes that has made me realize I don't want to get fatty liver. Fatty liver has exploded alongside with ultra-processed foods that we eat so casually every single day. So in this video, we're going to break down the 10 most common foods that contain the hidden added ingredient fructose and explain what actually happens inside your liver when you consume fructose and show you which foods you actually can consume, and it'll help you with your liver to recover. The good news is once you remove added fructose, and that's the key, your liver can fully recover and reverses fatty liver. It has an incredible ability to heal itself. Just a quick note before we continue. I see lots of messages and comments all the time from people who have watched a few of my videos and didn't realize that they weren't subscribed. So if you find value in my videos, can you double check that you're subscribed? It's free and it really does help get my message to other people. And if you are subscribed, thank you very much for joining me to change the world. So let's start with the most common food source with hidden added fructose: baked goods. Literally, my son made this last night. Cookies, cakes, muffins, donuts, sweetbreads. Oh, I know they're so delicious. Now, even if they don't taste sweet, they may just have added fructose, or they may contain high fructose corn syrup, or table sugar, or organic table sugar, organic cane sugar. I mean, it's the same stuff because table sugar itself is roughly 50% fructose and 50% glucose. So when you eat a muffin, a donut, a cookie, you're often consuming a significant amount of fructose alongside with refined flour and refined fat. Because these foods are energy dense, you can eat very little of it, like just maybe half a cookie, and you'll dissolve it so quickly, it'll hit your mouth, melt, and then you'll start absorbing those ingredients as it goes down to your small intestines. And you'll deliver such a large amount of sugar, a large amount of fructose to your liver in such a short period of time that all that turns into liver fat. So think about it. Let's say you're in the morning and you're going to buy some coffee, but you're not going to just eat coffee. They're going to sell you muffins and pastries or some, sugar sweetened latte, right? Instead of that black coffee, you'll be tempted to eat some sugar. And it feels like a small reward for going to work. You're going to have a hard day's work, but it's just one episode where you eat that and you're probably eating over 20 teaspoons of sugar. So how long does it take for you to eat that? Have you ever timed yourself? Probably 15 minutes or less, because as you're eating, you're just getting hungrier. And then all of a sudden you're wolfing it down, right? And then it hits your stomach. That whole thing falls apart into little tiny like sawdust pieces. You're absorbing sucrose and then fructose and then the starch. All of that is instantaneously absorbed to give you calories. Now, and when those sugars reach your liver, the fructose just drives fat production on a logarithmic scale. But you don't notice it because your liver is hidden away deep inside your abdomen, right? That sugar bolus with all those sugars, you don't know what's happening to that. You're just focused on eating that. And it was so tempting that you're going to be hungry for another bolus. And so you then go get a snack that has sugar, and the same thing happens again. And over months and years, this repeated exposure for breakfast, for snacks, for lunch, for dinner, for dessert, all that increases your liver fat silently. You'll notice because your pants are getting tighter. You're having problems buttoning it up or even pulling it up your legs. And you'll notice this effect more on the days that you indulge. And the first obvious sign that you're increasing liver fat is that you can't put your pants on. But most people ignore it because it doesn't cause any pain. Can't be that bad, right? Just buy bigger clothes. To be clear, small amounts of fructose are actually perfectly safe. So you're not going to pass out by eating a cookie. And that's why on days that when you change your eating habits and eat all natural whole fruit with fructose for your breakfast, you're going to feel lighter instead of that carb heavy doses. And when you eat seasonal fruits and enjoy them, just like everybody else has for eons enjoyed seasonal fruits, nobody in history has had like 70% of the population obese with fatty liver because that's not how they ate. However, in my lifetime, I've seen firsthand how we've manipulated our food supply to, eat added fructose that causes diseases like fatty liver, obesity, type 2 diabetes. It all parallels the explosion of ultra-processed foods, right? And when large amounts of these fructose, they reach the liver converts much of it directly into liver fat, which is then trapped in your liver, and essentially you're foie gras your own liver. Now, this process isn't known as foie gras, it's known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which now is technically renamed to MASLD, which stands for Metabolic Dysfunction Associated Steatotic Liver Disease. That's just a mouthful, and it's easier to say fatty liver disease, which is one of the fastest growing chronic diseases in the world. That's because most people eat like Americans. They're eating highly processed, ultra refined foods stuffed with fructose. That's simply eating table sugar or high fructose corn syrup or agave. All these, different kinds of sugars, when you overeat them, many of them are fructose, and that's what you're getting your liver, and that's how you're getting it sick, as if you're drinking alcohol, even though you're not. Fatty liver will lead to cirrhosis, no matter how you get that fatty liver, and can lead to liver cancer. And I don't want to see that happening anymore. And, when you're baking stuff and then you're adding your own chemicalized table sugars or fructose, there's no difference in the stores. And in fact, the next item on the list delivers fructose even faster, and that's that flavored coffee drink that you decided to do instead of black coffee. Don't add sugar, folks. A flavored latte or blended coffee drink, even though you're not adding sugar, they're adding syrups made from high fructose corn syrup, some kind of super saturated sugar, and it overwhelms your liver's ability to cope for the day and to heal and to recover from all the other toxins that you're exposing yourself to. Those coffee drinks, they combine the liquid sugar with dairy and the flavorings. They nullify the benefits of the black coffee itself. That beverage has more sugar than dessert. In fact, it is a dessert. And again, when you combine that dairy, besides the sugar, they both nullify the benefits of the coffee. That black coffee that you intended to buy without dairy and without sugar is, however, beneficial for your liver because it contains polyphenols that can support your liver to detox. Now, these polyphenols are inhibited from working when you combine them with dairy. Hence, I don't know who invented that. It's such a really bad idea. And it's really important that if you want to eat those two foods, that you separate them in timing. And this illustrates just another common food that's regularly consumed by children. Sugary sodas, right? That was my staple as a kid and one of the largest contributors to not only cavities, but added fructose in my diet. Now, my mom even gave me soda when I was sick because she believed some water is better than no water, even if it's full of sugar and artificial stuff in it. And maybe that's why I struggled for days at home with horrible sore throats, and I was always the largest person in my class. A single can of soda can contain around 10 teaspoons of sugar. Much of it is in the form of high fructose corn syrup. Let's see if this is true. Yep. Second ingredient after water, high fructose corn syrup. Or they could put table sugar or sucrose. Soda is consumed as a liquid, which means that sugar is already dissolved in water. It's going to reach your liver even more quickly. Liquid sugar, it doesn't require you to chew to digest. It's been digested before you even swallowed it. And that's why solid food, even though it's bad, it's a little bit better than eating food liquid. And when you're eating liquid fructose, that directly has a target for your liver. And whether that soda is made out of cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup, folks, same amount of fructose because fructose is much sweeter than cane sugar. So they can actually use maybe a little bit less, but you're still getting a bolus of fructose. And soda sweetened with cane sugar has fructose because cane sugar is essentially sucrose, which is half fructose and half glucose. Now, there's another issue with drinks. And if you think about it, I mentioned it. So when you're eating solid food, you have to chew it. So when you chew it, it's sending signals of satiety to your brain that you're getting full. But when you drink sugary beverages, there's no chewing or gnawing on it. So it bypasses those control signals of overeating. And you can drink large amounts of sugar without feeling full. And in fact, you may feel even more hungry, which means that your drink will more often give your liver exposure of repeated high fructose throughout the day so that you'll be eating constantly. And this rapid influx of fructose is pushing your liver towards more and more fat. And that fat, though, gets trapped in the liver, so it causes liver inflammation and metabolic stress. Another thing to consider is why people could eat, let's say, breads and pastas and rice and potatoes and not get fat in the old days, right? Those are all ancient foods, right? They're full of carbohydrates. But many people, want to blame those foods for their problem. What are we, genetically mutated? Or are those foods genetically mutated now? Or maybe it's a pesticides or herbicides used to grow these foods. Well, it actually starts with mechanical modification, which allowed chemicals like fructose to be added to our food supply, right? The Industrial Revolution invented fructose, high fructose corn syrup, and table sugar, sucrose. And you're just loading them in our food because it's so addictive. But nobody just drinks like table sugar. They have to add flavor and texture to it, or they have to chew it, right? And that's why it's so easy to hide these foods and process carbohydrates, which then gets converted into more glucose and fructose in your body. So processed carbohydrates easily hides fructose. And most of the carbohydrates you eat are made from some kind of starchy carbohydrate, something that people can process. Wheat, like pizza, bread. So a bunch of rice products, rice crackers, even white rice, or potatoes and noodles, right? Those processed carbohydrates will eventually get broken down into a simple sugar called glucose, which is, by the way, our body's preferred sugar. Glucose is a universal fuel that's essential for life. Now, you don't have to eat glucose. That's why people can fast. During fasting, your body will make glucose from just breaking down your own muscle tissue. Does that sound like a good idea? I don't think that's so ideal. You can lose muscle mass because glucose is that important, right? Muscle is not as important as glucose. It serves so many normal, essential bodily functions, including making collagen, making DNA, and it keeps your body metabolically active because it's a fuel source. Your muscles actually use it. Your brain uses it, and almost every cell in your body can metabolize glucose for energy. But that's not the case with fructose. Believe it or not, the packaging of your food determines if fructose is going to be deadly or actually okay. And I say okay because your gut microbiome can handle some of that fructose. So it's really the timing. How quickly can your liver see the fructose? And when we eat, we should be eating foods to stop fructose from surging into our bloodstream. And that's the problem. And that's why the liver is getting overwhelmed. The vast majority of fructose metabolism occurs just inside your liver. Nobody else helps it. And that means every large dose of fructose you consume is essentially delivered straight to your liver for processing, which would be fine if the liver could actually turn into some usable energy. And that's why fructose is so bad. And unlike glucose, which the body tightly regulates, how quickly can you absorb it? How quickly can you release it? None of that happens with fructose, right? Fructose just bypasses the normal regulatory mechanisms for glucose. And once it reaches the liver, it's rapidly converted into a molecule called fructose 1-phosphate. And that process consumes cellular ATP, which is the opposite of why you're eating sugar. Now, glucose will actually give you ATP. Fructose takes it. There's something wrong about that. When ATP falls, it triggers a pathway that makes more fat. It's called de novo lipogenesis. In simpler terms, the liver turns on fat conversion. And this would totally be okay if the liver could share the fat with other cells and give it to, other fat cells to store. But it can't. The fat is trapped in the liver. And over time, that fat, it goes in liver cells, interfering with liver function and triggering liver inflammation. That all raises your blood sugar, makes you more insulin resistant, increases your uric acid, increases your cholesterol. There's just nothing good that comes out of it. And your liver is essential to your life. It is your number one detox organ. It also makes blood clotting factors so that you don't need to bleed excessively. Fatty liver is a warning sign that your liver is struggling to keep you healthy. Hi, friends. I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now. And that's why it's important to avoid sauces that add fructose. Let me emphasize added, because when you eat all natural fruit with fructose, which is vital to eat, you actually reverse fatty liver, which appears counterintuitive. And that's why many people will eat junk food and rationalize okay, and they'll avoid fruit because they were told it has fructose, even though it actually has been shown to improve liver problems. So that is completely, I don't know where they got that from. It just doesn't make any sense to me. The real issue is not small amounts of fructose found naturally in whole fruits, which you're not eating. But if you did eat that, the fructose is trapped in the water and fiber, which then reaches your gut microbiome, so you're not absorbing that. And when you chew on an apple, it takes like a couple hours to actually absorb the nutrients and dissolve it. And yet, when we drink the soda, in 50 minutes, you'll be done with this whole can. But you're not eating fruit for fructose, right? You're eating whole fruits because you're wanting the beneficial compounds that you can't get from a can of soda or from your cookie. But you have all these other components that's not so great. Whole fruit has different types of soluble and insoluble fiber, water, minerals, vitamins, and plant antioxidants that not only slow the absorption of fructose and other sugars, but they also contain the equipment necessary to keep your gut microbiome healthy and to keep your liver healthy. The problem is when you add fructose. So when you take the whole fruit and you concentrate it, so it's a whole fruit concentrate or concentrated fruit juices, there's no fiber in these folks that is protecting your body from having that surge. So when you move that fiber matrix, whether you do it yourself by peeling it or whether you are squeezing it or somehow processing it or the store does it, you're getting a surge of fructose. Your liver just simply doesn't like fructose. Sweetened fruit juices are also added to whole fruits and apple pies, and they are a terrible source of fiber and nutrients. And that's why sweetened fruit drinks and fruit-flavored beverages may appear healthier than soda from the label, but if you can afford it, don't eat that stuff. Many drinks contain added sugars, maybe only a small amount, but the actual fruit is what you should be going for. Foods made from fruit can deliver high doses of fructose when the fiber has been removed, and fiber normally is removed to give you pure cane sugar. Now, that allows the sugar to enter the bloodstream already. So that's the thing. They're getting blocked, and that's why now processed food companies are thinking of other mechanisms, another way to get into the food system in society, to teach people how we should be eating. Now, you may like juice. It's pretty refreshing. But to produce juice, you need several pieces of fruit, correct? So without a fiber, the fructose will rapidly absorb into the liver. It won't be that much better than eating candy. Because that concentrated exposure is going to stimulate fat production in ways that we discussed earlier. An 8-ounce glass of orange juice has half the amount of sugar in this soda. So getting less fructose, if there's some fiber, that's also beneficial. And there's going to be some antioxidants that's going to be better for you than soda. But you can easily overconsume the orange juice, right? And hence, it's not good to overconsume fruit juices either. Eating whole fruit, on the other hand, is so low in calories, so protective that everybody should just be doing it. Let's talk about energy drinks. Now, these beverages are often marketed for performance or alertness, but many of them contain large amounts of sugar and excessive caffeine. Energy drinks also have been linked to liver injury, although it is less common than their cardiovascular injuries, I mean, the amount of side effects to drink energy drinks is insane. Well, there are several concerns. It may not just be the caffeine itself. It's really they're putting high doses of certain additives, especially niacin, and the combination of the multiple stimulants and sugars. Many of these energy drinks can contain 20 to 40 milligrams of niacin per can, and some larger cans or have multiple servings can push your intake well above 100 milligrams per day. While niacin is an essential vitamin, high doses are known to cause drug-induced liver injury. Right? Medical reports have documented people who develop acute hepatitis after consuming some kind of energy drink or supplement every day for weeks and months. Symptoms will include fatigue, abdominal pain, dark urine, jaundice, elevated liver enzymes, and it's really important that you see a doctor right away if you think that's describing you. Another factor is the load of sugar, right? Especially in non-sugar-free energy drinks. Some contain like up to 50 grams of sugar per can, often in the form of sucrose or high fructose corn syrup. Now, large repeated doses of fructose are metabolized very differently in the liver and can promote de novo lipogenesis, meaning that the liver then converts the sugar into fat. And over time, this can contribute to fatty liver disease or MASL. There are also concerns about herbal additives. And sometimes energy drinks, they want to spice it up. They want to give a little baby green tea extract. Green tea by itself is actually a very beneficial component. But when you concentrate it, that's been associated with liver toxicity in certain people. So reported liver problems associated with heavy drinking of energy drinks include acute hepatitis, liver enzyme abnormalities, and progression to drug-induced liver injury. Most cases, they can consume multiple energy drinks for a day for multiple periods of time, rather than occasional use. I mean, there's so many things on the market, right? Let's not just villainize energy drinks, but they are terrible for your liver and heart. They have been increasingly associated with heart disease and problems when you have elevated blood pressure or other cardiovascular events. Especially if you consume too much, that can lead to unexpected consequences. Most energy drinks contain several stimulants working together, the most important being caffeine, but also taurine and ginseng. A typical energy drink can have 150 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, which is equivalent to, let's say, 2 to 4 cups of coffee. And some cans, if they're larger, they can trigger that. And one of its main effects on your heart is that it stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, which raises your blood pressure, as well as your heart rate. This can trigger palpitations, as well as atrial fibrillation and supraventricular tachycardia. And if you have any underlying medical conditions, you are more susceptible. Now, cardiac complications include arrhythmias, QT prolongation. Some of these studies have shown that drinks can prolong the QT interval by 10 to 20 seconds in the right person, and that may include the risk of more arrhythmias. But when we eat something like this, the sugar content can also be pretty significant. Many drinks contain roughly 25 to 60 grams of sugar, which totally will spike your blood sugars and spike your insulin level and contribute to metabolic stress on your cardiovascular system, particularly with regular repeated consumption. And serious cardiovascular events associated with energy drinks include atrial fibrillation, ventricular arrhythmias, and heart attacks. And all these things are relatively common. When your heart doesn't work, that's cardiomyopathy. That could be sudden death. So the risk factor appears even higher with more energy drinks. And that's probably because it's consumed rapidly. Oftentimes it's consumed with alcohol. It's consumed doing intense exercise used by adolescents or people with heart disease. Right? Organizations such as the American Heart Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, they advise all children and adolescents to avoid energy drinks in its entirety. And they're supposed to have us adults keep you guys accountable. And if you're going to drink it, consume it cautiously. That's really a code word for don't do it. Now, there's another layer to consider. When caffeine stimulates the nervous system, people just sometimes drink those beverages faster or they consume multiple servings. Now, that means that the liver, it may receive repeated waves of metabolism to-do lists throughout the day. A safer, milder, and anti-inflammatory energy boost, it would be all natural teas, which is not the same as drinking sweetened teas, which is another example of how added fructose sneaks into your meals. Because tea itself is really healthy. It's rich in polyphenols and antioxidants. Actually, it has a third of the caffeine of coffee. But the bottled stuff, the restaurant teas, they often contain a significant amount of added sugar, and that sugar has fructose, and that's why it tastes good. But for some reason, because it tastes lighter than soda, people think it's actually healthier than soda. And I guess it is, but the sugar nullifies that effect. Yet the liver still sees fructose in the same way. It's hard to get away from fructose and table sugar, which has fructose. To me, they're interchangeable. Now, how often have you thought about eating healthy? Let's say take breakfast cereals. You know how much sugar is in those breakfast cereals, fortified with essential vitamins and minerals? Many cereals, especially those marketed to children, you better bet that they contain a ton of added sugar to improve their flavor. And even cereals that appear to be healthy will contain sweeteners that contain fructose. So when you're eating this on repeat, right, your sugar-sweetened milk or yogurt, that can also have high sugar, high fructose. So then if for breakfast, your breakfast is just with the donut, the bagel, the yogurt, it's delivering simple sugars, especially fructose, all the time to your liver. And that sugar is hidden from our food supply, right? We don't necessarily understand it's hidden in plain sight. One of my pet peeves is really the sweetened yogurts, how we're trying to feed our family something healthy, but the yogurt has so much added sugar, it has more than ice cream. So try to buy plain and get them to add the fruit themselves if you must eat yogurt. Now, when you consume it daily, then they can contribute significant amount of fructose to your life. And that's a problem, is that you're probably not eating desserts and sweet beverages, likely thinking you're going to get away from fructose. Well, yes, I don't disagree. They're super concentrated in fructose, but America's favorite fruit sauce is actually ketchup. And when they're eating ketchup, they're probably also gravitating towards barbecue sauce. And those are two typical examples of super concentrated simple sugars with fructose. Just 2 tablespoons, folks. That's not a lot. But then people don't like the amount of fructose in a whole apple. Well, did you know that you can't compare apples and ketchup? These condiments often contain sugar or high fructose corn syrup, as that's probably the very first thing listed on ingredients, or it's second. And they're used frequently throughout the meals because you don't realize you're eating added sugar, and they quickly spike your fructose without even realizing it. Barbecue sauce, really, that's just combining sugar with ketchup, which already has sugar. People are putting barbecue sauce like cooking into like buns, sweet marinades, even soda. And that can push your total fructose load so much higher in one meal. Now, finally, candy and chocolate bars, they pretty much round out my list. These products are designed to deliver concentrated sweetness, and many contain both sugar and corn syrup. Can you believe that? They are putting all of it because they are easy to quickly maneuver. They can deliver another rapid dose of fructose to the liver. And the thing is, it just seems so tiny that a standard chocolate bar has more fructose than an 8-ounce glass of orange juice. And I just had to point that out because when you take a step back and look at this, there's a pattern that emerges. Many of these foods that I just shared, they have similar characteristics. They are highly processed. They deliver high calories in very low amount of time. They are very, very convenient, and they are consumed not only too frequently in timing, but too quickly in chewing. And the liver, despite all that, is an incredibly resilient organ. But repeated metabolic stress, well, it will overwhelm your liver and it won't be able to process your nutrients. Now, the hopeful part of this story is that the liver has a remarkable ability to recover once you remove the insult. So when you remove the added fructose and start eating a well-balanced diet with whole foods, you can let the liver fat melt away. And if you want to learn the best foods, watch the next video.